The biggest thing that you have to remember is that the bad times are coming, bro. Like, you guys are going to have bad times.
You got to be really, really careful of costing yourself greatness at one thing because you're spread out to 2 or 3 or 4 different things.
Like when I'm out doing 75 hard workouts on the outdoors and it's fucking shitty, bro, I do love that because I can look around and the only other motherfucker that's out there is maybe you.
Right.
And if it ain't you, there ain't nobody. They were fucking right. I was a fat fuck. And you know what I figured out? That every time someone called me fat, I got off my fat ass and I went outside and did some fucking cardio. And even if it was only 10 minutes, even if it was only 10 motherfucking minutes, I would go do it. Because I would, if you could take the negative and turn that into immediate action, bro, you cannot be beat. How do you beat someone like that? How do you beat someone like that? How do you beat someone that the more negative energy you throw at them, the better they get? The biggest thing that you have to remember is that the bad times are coming, bro. Like, you guys are going to have bad times. It's going to happen. There's no way to avoid it. Yeah. You're going to have situations. You're going to have people. You're going to have fuck ups. You're going to have just bad periods of time. And you have to accept that as a reality. And from a actual reality standpoint, those bad periods of time, those struggle periods of time, those times when you're the most fucking frustrated, the world's actually teaching you something, and most people miss it because they get so wrapped up in how bad shit is that they miss the fucking lesson, and then they repeat the same bad shit over and over and over. So, you know, because they get wound up in their own self-pity and their victimhood, and you know, by the way, that's more popular than ever because they want you to be a victim. So, my advice to anybody is for you to understand the reality. We're all going to have storms, bro. We're all going to have bad times, but just like a real storm, guess what happens? It moves the fuck along, okay? And sometimes they stay longer. Sometimes they go fast, but the sun always comes out, dude.
Having said that, though, you have to be great at something. And there's this thing that's out there that millionaires have multiple streams of income. That's a fact that's not true. And you know this as well as I do. Most millionaires got wealthy by building one dream first. Yeah. And then when they got there, they diversified. It's gonna be really hard for you to compete. Let's say you want to be a baseball player, just for example. You're gonna be a baseball player and a piano player, but I'm playing baseball all day long, 100% of the time, obsessed with it, getting better, growing, and you're also doing this other thing, I'm gonna kick your tail every single time. So in business, if you're doing 5 businesses and I'm getting great at 1, you're gonna have a hard time competing against me on that one because I'm obsessed, I'm all in, I'm after it, I'm crushing that one thing, and you're really spreading yourself very thin over here. So you gotta be really, really careful of costing yourself greatness at one thing because you're spread out to 2 or 3 or 4 different things.
Like when I'm out doing 75 hard workouts on the outdoors and it's fucking shitty, bro, I do love that because I can look around and the only other motherfucker that's out there is maybe you.
Right.
And if it ain't you, there ain't nobody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I do love that shit because I look around, I look up and down my street, I look around the neighborhood, wherever the fuck I'm doing it. I've been doing this program for a long time now. There ain't nobody doing it.
Yeah.
And when you could physically see that you're the only motherfucker out there grinding, there's massive power in that, in my opinion. You know, I think that teaches you to value yourself and realize like how much stronger you are than you think you are. And so I love that feeling. In terms of business storms or life storms, I try to adopt the same attitude. You know, I try to absorb the negativity. And that's another thing. Like, you have to learn to absorb the negative shit and process it and put it out in productive action. Yep. Like, that's a huge deal. That production pivot where you have negative come in, talked about this recently, I think. And then, you know, you process it and then you put out, you know, in productive, like, bro, like, you know, in 2015, I was 330 pounds, bro. I'd make Instagram content and people were like, you're a fat fuck. And I'd be like, fuck you, you know?
Right.
But like, the truth was, guess what? They were fucking right. I was a fat fuck. And you know what I figured out? That every time someone called me fat, I got off my fat ass and I went outside and did some fucking cardio. And even if it was only 10 minutes, even if it was only 10 motherfucking minutes, I would go do it. Because I would, if you could take the negative and turn that into immediate action, Bro, you cannot be beat. How do you beat someone like that? How do you beat someone like that? How do you beat someone that the more negative energy you throw at them, the better they get?
So the fact that you're thinking, overthinking, that's not really what's happening. You're asking yourself the wrong questions. Because you're asking yourself the wrong questions, you're getting these thought-looped answers that loop you into other thoughts and questions that cause you not to take action. So you don't need to stop overthinking. You need to start asking yourself different questions, which will produce different answers, which is now called a new thought. Resilience is something that's already within you. Resilience is your ability to overcome circumstances. You already have it. You wouldn't be here without it. You wouldn't have got where you are in your life without it. But it is a muscle. Doing hard things is something that we get better and better at doing the more we do it. I have a chapter in the book called One More Inconvenience. And what that means in the book is that sometimes in our lives, we avoid inconvenient and difficult things. When you begin to chase inconvenience, when you begin to chase things that are difficult, when you look at your day even, most people avoid the inconvenient thing. When you become a person who does the inconvenient stuff, this is what you do really well. You do the inconvenient thing in your life, all of a sudden that monster gets minimized over time and people will call you resilient. But what you've really become is somebody who is just willing to do the inconvenient thing. Your whole career, most people would term you as a very resilient person because you overcame all those no's year after year, and some of them very painful no's in your life. But the truth is, as you were overcoming them, you would do one more inconvenient thing, take one more meeting, one more call, one more no. And those were all very painful and inconvenient. But the fact that you would always choose the inconvenient thing is why you're sitting here. So it looks like resilience, but what it really was the muscle of being willing to do the inconvenient thing that almost no one else thought you should do, especially after the previous inconvenient things didn't work out.
Yeah.
But the truth is, resilience is doing inconvenient stuff over and over and over and over again. You're much closer than you think you are, and if you begin to believe that, you're going to find the things in your life that are going to get you to that place much faster than you believe you can get there. That's just an absolute 100% fact. I want to break free from my inability to tell people no. I want to break free from that, my lack of saying no to things. I need to begin to say no better and not feel so guilty when I tell somebody I can't do something for them. I have to get better at that. I have to, for my own peace and sanity. For me, there's one conclusion, that there's one presence with me all the time that truly got me through all those times. And even though I may not have known he was there, he knew I was there, and he was there all the time. And my faith gives me, such tremendous comfort and peace. I always say I want more peace in my life, and what I really mean by that is I want more time to have my relationship with God. I have a relationship with God, though, which means that it ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's better than others. I actually think questioning and asking questions about your faith is healthy because it helps you dig deeper and find more answers. But my faith has been the center part of my life. I can only conclude that there's an incredible, powerful, and loving God that's helped me reach all these conclusions and given me this journey. And if I really step back, there's just no way any of the stuff that's happened I could have done on my own. And the funny thing about writing a book about how to be more happy and successful, it's a little bit of a weird feeling because although I'm giving you all the keys that I know in the book, like, all right, I'm 51, what do I know? Here's like 19 one mores, and I go deep, as you know, on the mind and habits and time management and equanimity and identity and all this stuff in the book. But the truth is that there are entire pockets of my life where I can't explain them to you. They're supernatural. Like, there's entire times in my life where I'm like, all I can conclude, like when the water was turned off, it's a little bit of a blur. And then I sort of woke up and it was almost like the Lord just picked me up and carried me for a while. And then kind of put me back down and said, all right, I'm here with you still, but you're gonna, and then he picked me up for a while and put me back down again. And so I'd be remiss if I wrote a book about being happy and successful and I didn't have a chapter in the book on the most important central part of all of it for me, which is that I believe God put us here to love one another. God put us here to care about one another, to believe in one another, to show each other how to do better. That's what I think life is. And so I also believe there's a purpose to this life beyond just being here for 80 or 100 years and our body dies. How do I know that? I know that from my dad. I know that from his dad. And so my faith is the most important part of my life. I don't have a life without it. That's just the truth. None of this matters without it. And The most powerful thing ever for me is like those two babies of mine, Max and Bella. I love them more than you could possibly imagine loving two human beings. And to think that the Lord loves me even more than that, and loves you even more than that, and loves someone listening to the, man, that's powerful. And the last thing I'll say is, I believe in energy. I believe in science. I'm one of these crazy Christian people who believes that there's vibrational frequency. I actually believe in all that. I just happen to believe a creator created all of that. But I'm not a dummy. You and I are great friends because I love your frequency. I love you. I love the energy I feel from you. I think you like mine. Like, we all respond to energy. So I'm a diverse believer in that sense. I'm just a devout Christian in the main sense. And so I had to write a book. I had to put that in there.
Do you ever doubt your faith?
I have. I've questioned it. I've doubted it. Sure. When you see your father suffer like that, Lord, what are we doing here? Right? Or you see a tragedy in life, there are some things that just there aren't answers to. But I can tell you that there was a lot of things about my dad's suffering that served other people, including me. And so, as I've been able to take away these keys in my life, yeah, I think the truth is that I don't believe I doubt my faith anymore to the extent of whether it's true. I doubt my depth of understanding of it. I doubt my depth of, sometimes I doubt I wish I could become closer. I regret sometimes in life, if I'm being honest, that I think a lot of us feel like, I'm gonna really get around to pursuing my faith more aggressively when, right? When. And that time never comes. And so it was many, many years ago, I went, no, that time is kind of now. But even having said that, there are things about me, this calling on my heart, that I feel like I want to get closer. I want to get closer. And so the doubt part probably has changed from doubt of whether I believe what I believe, which I once have had, to more understanding and knowing more than I know. And so that's probably the doubt part.